All right, everybody. It's the Arty 84 show live here from quarantine, episode 136. It is the 17th of June. We have, as always, the Adam DeMellet to my lower left, and Ryan Glover to my upper left, and special guest tonight, comedian. Are you from Illinois, correct?
Yeah, I live in Chicagoland.
Chicago. Peter
Lipsey.
How you doing tonight?
Not bad. Happy to be here. Happy to be doing something in front of people. It's been, it's been nuts for 3.5 months.
Oh, it's been absolutely ridiculous. How's things out in Chi-Town? As crazy as it is the rest of the world?
Yeah, Chicago's great. I mean, I've been to Boston, great town. People here are great, but a lot of the comics, like I said, they're going nuts.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to go. Wisconsin next door is open up.
Okay.
I was in Lake Geneva, which is like a downtown touristy area. Must have been 4,000 people there on Saturday, and not one wearing a mask, shoulder to shoulder, in the bars drinking, which is great.
Yeah.
And in about 14 days, all hell's got to break loose. But
I gave up on the mask. I surrendered the mask. I was and asked Adam. I was the first one to be very scared about this whole situation. I started loading up on goods. I built a bunker in my basement. I bought
Lysol in your groceries.
Yeah, Lysol my groceries. Bought 4 months worth of baby formula. I even put it in a safe, and I was trying to obtain illegal firearms because I thought shit was gonna go down. And then me and my wife went out to Boston on Saturday. We enjoyed a nice day of going to the restaurant, sitting outside, and I had the mask on for about the distance it took me to get from the car to the elevator to the parking garage. I looked around, see no one else was wearing a mask, and said, you know what? Fuck it. My paranoia is over. I'm actually flying in 2 weeks down to Tennessee, so I am very, what could happen, right? I mean, they couldn't fuck me up any more than I am, so,
True. Yeah. I mean, chances are we've all come across it at some level.
Yeah,
I'm thinking. And we'll just see, I guess. It's a crapshoot.
I'm pretty sure I had it. Or I don't know, because in December, January, I was feeling kind of achy, kind of flu-y. I don't know. Who knows? Unless I take the antibody test, I'll never know. But I probably possibly could have had it. I have a questionable lifestyle. I didn't think it would happen.
Questionable lifestyle.
Wow, that's redundant. We all have a questionable lifestyle.
It all depends on what degree, exactly.
That's right. That's right.
How much you want to disclose is the question. So, Peter, have you done any? I know you said that you're antsy to do some comedy. Have you done any Zoom comedy, Zoom stand-up at all?
You know what? I've been, my buddy and I, we've been trying to do that. And the thing about Zoom comedy is, getting everybody into one room at the same time. Like we were trying to do 55 and older communities because they have a room there and they can Zoom it. But like this, getting 50 people, it's impossible. So not really.
Yeah.
We're trying to go to Southeast Wisconsin and just do street jokes, an hour of street jokes, which I think people will love because he's been doing it 30 years. I've been doing it 30 years. No one wants to hear about politics, topical stuff, anything.
Oh, yeah.
Just straight up street jokes. I think they go nuts. Finding the venue is hard. So
going to Wisconsin for people from Illinois is like us escaping to New Hampshire from people from Massachusetts.
That's right. I mean, we have words for each other, and
yeah, it's great when it's open, right?
What's that?
It's great when the state of adjacent from me is open. Yeah. It's like going to another country. Sure. It's like going to Canada at 18, and drinking up there. It's wild.
It's like going to Wisconsin. You zip in, zip out.
I actually did a Zoom. I did 2 Zoom stand-ups a couple weeks ago with the Laugh and Buddha Comedy Club out in New York, and very interesting. I gotta tell you, the first one I did, I had the microphone stand set up. I had the speakers on, so I didn't have the headphones. I made it look like I was on stage. I tried to get in the moment, while everyone else was just like us right now, with the microphone in front of us, just kind of staring into the computer.
It sounds horrible. It just sounds horrible and awkward.
Well, there's a delay. And then you can't work the crowd. It's tough. Right. It's like, and it's tough to keep track of your time. It was very awkward.
So was it the other comics that were in the pictures and you're doing it for them, or was there an audience somewhere?
So you could have both. So there was about 10 comics that joined in, and then you could give the link out to people, and the host would mute them all, and they would it was very weird because they were muted. So you didn't really, you could just look at them laughing, but you can't be looking at your screen and looking at the camera. It was very awkward.
In a weird way, I think it would be better if there was a fake laugh track that played after every joke. It's kind of like watching a comedy show on television with no laugh track. It just feels weird.
Yes.
Like, even if nobody would laugh at your joke, it would make you feel better.
I watched Joel Osteen, and you know how like he tells a joke before like every sermon.
Yeah.
So like I noticed like he tells his joke now, and there's no laugh track or anything like the audience and stuff.
Weird.
Like yeah, it's like I was like, oh, you're really not that funny. Like
yeah. No, when I recorded my Zoom, I actually added a laugh track on top of it afterwards because it was just too awkward. I was just like, it sounds like a good place for a laugh.
It's weird that helps. It's bizarre to think that like hearing laughter makes you laugh.
Yeah.
But without it, it's creepy. It's like walking into a department store without any music.
Yes. Very creepy.
It's like the original episodes of MASH that were funny. They didn't have laugh tracks. And after 2 years, I think they added a laugh track. So if you watch those first ones, the jokes are funny, the show's funny, but without the laugh, it's really bizarre.
Yeah, it really does.
SNL is like that too. It's really weird.
It really adds a different element to any comedy, I guess, for that matter. I don't know if it's a psychological thing, or people need to feel like when you're at a comedy club and no one's laughing, even though it's funny, you feel you may be apprehensive to laugh because you don't want to be the only one laughing. But like, if everyone's laughing, you kind of feel like, I could join in on this. You kind of loosen up a little bit, I don't know. Maybe it's
I've had the no laughs, Hastings, Nebraska, 2nd Street Slammer. 295 people is a big airplane hangar.
Yeah.
I was just starting out on the road. 35 minutes, I didn't bail. Headliner loved me. It was brutal. We've all had those shows, right? For whatever reason, you can't get them going.
Oh yeah, I was hosting the show for about a year at this Mexican restaurant in the town I used to live in. And the problem was I wanted a certain area of the restaurant that was kind of like very cut off and people could just go over there, and it was more of an open mic than everything. But they wanted it to be more of a production and a show, but they didn't want to shut down the rest of the bar at the same time. So it was like you had people sitting there eating their fajitas, and you had people that came, and it was in a hotel, so you had people staying in the hotel as well. And all of a sudden, a comedy show pops up at 8:30, and it's like, "Hello, we're here to entertain you," and it's very uncomfortable for very, very many reasons.
It was. I remember you tried to make that work, man, but it was like wedged in the corner by the bar, and like there's lights there, but it couldn't work.
We needed an isolated space. You need a space that's connected to the space, but has its own little cove, its own little element, so people can go back and forth. People can check it out, but you're also not sitting there with like an old couple doing dick jokes who's about to go to a flight to Hawaii the next morning and have no idea what they just wandered into,
You got to make everybody pay at least $1 so they're vested.
It's true.
Sometimes these shows pop up in a hotel. It's like, oh, there's comedy, and they're brutal because the guys are at the bar. They don't want to listen.
Yep.
But if you make everyone pay $1, that was the downfall of comedy in the 80s. Everyone papered the room, and then bam, and in the 90s it was over.
Yeah.
If you make them give something of themselves, I think that'll help. That
is true, because when you do go to comedy clubs, you do feel like there is an investment put into it, so you're more apt to pay attention. And I mean, the way most comedy clubs are set up anyways, at least the good ones, is it's very hard to not focus. Everything's focused on the stage. You're sitting very uncomfortable. You're very like crammed in. You have no other choice but to look at the stage. There's no other distractions. But and then you obviously the fact that you spent $25-$30 to get into for the night, and it's an investment. So you're there to get entertained or be and you're paying, so you can't be offended, right? I mean, you paid money to go see a certain person or a certain group perform. So how could one get offended by going to a comedy? Now, if you were, an old couple going in Hawaii and you were staying at the Comfort Inn in Revere, and all of a sudden you just want to enjoy a quick dinner before your flight the next morning, and the comic on stage starts talking about abortions and his ex-wife and how much she likes, other men, to join them, I can see there being a point there. We actually had some Yelp reviews that were very, very nasty, which was very funny. But it was worth a shot, But I do got to ask, how is comedy in Nebraska? What's that like?
Well, when I first started out, I was working with this one guy, Wild Bill Bauer. I worked with him for 10 years, and we knew 3 or 4 bookers that would book a bunch of one-nighters, weekends, and comedy in Nebraska was actually pretty good. Funny Bone in Omaha was good. Lincoln, the University of Lincoln was good, but then you'd have these one-nighters in Hastings and North Platte, Nebraska, which was actually pretty good, gateway to Colorado. So when the comedy was going well and it was booked well and you had decent comics, I don't think you can go wrong. Same today.
Yeah.
You know, whatever is booked today, if you have decent dudes and the audience is trained, as you guys know, sometimes they're not, like at the Comfort Inn or whatever. But if they know at 8 o'clock there's going to be a comedy show, damn it, the show starts at 8, not 8:25, not 8:30. And so when you train them for a couple, then it's like, you know, I don't know about how long you guys have been doing, but I've closed down so many rooms because in like a Hastings, Nebraska, they wanted to do comedy once a week, but maybe it's a once every 6 week room.
Yeah.
But when comedy was booming, hey, let's do it. And then the comics, the decentness of the comics went down, and then they all went out of business. So, you know, as long as someone knows how to run a room, I think it doesn't matter where in the country.
I think that's
it can be.
That's the problem too. Yeah, because they want more. But you got to build up a kind of you know, you got to build up a reputation, I guess. Because when I was doing a couple rooms, it was almost like there's this brewery in Massachusetts called Boston Beer Works, and I was doing comedy shows there for them in 2 locations. But I wanted to do once a month in each location. So the Boston location, I wanted to do like the first Thursday, and the Lowell location do like the second Thursday. They wanted me every other week, and it was more of a mic than a show.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just trying to develop, and it also helps in the pot to advertise. So those places didn't advertise very well to let people know there was going to be a mic. And it was dead nights, and it's just like you end up sitting there, and there's no one there other than a few handful of comics. And then the comics show up the first time, and then they don't want to show up the second time because they're like, oh, no one's showing up there. You know what I mean? Unless they're, you know, trying to work on material and stuff like that. But it's tough to keep the show going. And it's tough to go and turn around and be like, oh, I want to do this for another, you know, month or so. And you kind of, it's not fun at that point. It just, you know, it just becomes a hassle, you know. And I mean, if
you could create a demand, it's like, oh man, I missed the show. There's another one in 5 weeks or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's how you get it going. But you know, some of these owners, they want to do it every week because they're greedy, because they're packing them in, and then, that's the end of comedy. So,
see, Barrett
it's
watching.
A hard business, man. It's hard. It's fun, but it's hard.
Barrett watching on Facebook. I do comedy for a free pizza and a bear. It's actually not bad as a incentive. A lot of places I did shows for, I had an open tab, which actually worked out very nice because you end up spending, you know, $30-$40 sometimes if you're up there and you're just hanging out the entire. You're there an hour and a half before the show. You're there like an hour after, just chit chatting, you know. And then if you like, I was running the show, so I was hosting, so I'm up and down, you know, so I'm there all night long. I can't leave, and you end up racking up a tab, and it's like if you could just, you know, do it for the free beer, you know. I do anything for free. I do anything for free drinks, you know. Anything. I mean, anything. I mean, there's a short list of stuff I wouldn't do.
So they would give you an open tab, and then whatever you drank, it was on that.
Yeah, it was a brewer anyway. So as long as I was drinking draft beer, it was like, all right. It was just they kept the tab open. I tipped the girl at the end of the night, you know, and
nice.
You know, after a while, it was great. And then it seemed like we had 2 locations. We had a location that was very close to me, which was very Uber in distance, and there was a location that was very not so much of an Uber in distance. So yeah, make sure you drove. And that seemed to be the location they really, really wanted you to drink a lot. Like that was like, you know, it was the situation. It was like I almost had to get a hotel on a Wednesday night in Lowell, and no one wants to do that.
Right.
How long have you been doing comedy for?
Well, I started in '89. I used to live in Milwaukee. I worked at a radio station. Lived in Chicagoland, about 70 miles away. And after 6 months, I moved up there. This is a weird story. So I signed my lease on a Friday. Unbeknownst to anyone, the radio station I worked at was sold on a Saturday. We're all out of a job.
Oh, shit.
So I got 364 days left on the lease. So I got a bunch of jobs, one of which was at a bar. They had a comedy night. And after about a year, I was a bartender. I did it. Did open mics for a couple of years and hit the road in '89, moved back to Chicago.
Okay.
Because when you'd be traveling, you'd hit Chicago, then it's another 90 miles to Milwaukee, which sucked.
Yeah.
And then I just hit the road and, you know, did it from '89 to '03 full time. And then I just do corporate gigs when I can get them since then. And it's a blast. I love being a comic. You know, I try and write 50 jokes a week.
Okay.
Just for me to keep the chops going. And who knows when we're all going to hit the stage again.
Yeah.
So this stuff is fun. I do this for 66 straight days. I do a street joke and a 2-minute thing on Facebook. I just pop it out there just so I can be in front of something and do a joke, do a couple of one-liners, and so it's fun. I don't know what's going to happen, guys. I mean, I really don't know. when we're gonna be able to hit the stage again, because I think stand-up's gonna be the last thing that hits.
It will. I mean, because especially in Massachusetts, the same bars aren't open until there's a vaccine, essentially, at this point.
Right.
So that could be whoever knows. And if there's, and basically, you know, at most comedy clubs, you're just so stacked in. I mean, they pack you in.
Yeah.
You're right. It's probably the last place it's going to open. And I admire what you do, because that's actually, you got to stay fine-tuned. So you're writing jokes every day. You're staying active. You're keeping, it's like a car that just sits out in the driveway. Right. You got to start up every once in a while to keep the gears lubricated and stuff. And even if it doesn't work, and who cares, you still, because nothing's worse. I took about 2 years off, and then I went back on. And then the first, 5-6 shows were rough, because there's a rhythm or routine you develop. Even if you just go once a week, twice a week, you have this rhythm, you have this mentality. You know that on this certain time you got to do this, you need to write this, you try this out, you have this show, you work this jokes, and then you stop, and then you go back on, and it's like you're doing it all over again. It's like
But it kicked in for you after 5. I was going to say I can be off for a month or two, and then after 3 straight shows, damn it, it's back there.
Yeah.
So with you, 2 years off, you probably did 5, and then all right. And then you're back in the rhythm, because it doesn't take long, I don't think.
It's like riding a bike.
Get back into it.
Yeah, and then you kind of look back and, listen to some of your old stuff, watch some of your old stuff, and you're trying to fine-tune that. I think it's always fine-tuned. Right. I don't think any comic ever tells the same joke twice the exact same way, especially to different crowds, different ways. You fine-tune everything to make sure you cater, you customize your set to whoever's there, I mean... You're not going to do explicit jokes when you're doing it at a senior. Well, maybe you are doing it at a senior home, explicit jokes.
Well, that's what you have to do. Like with corporate stuff and like private gigs, you find out what you can and can't say, and you do 10 minutes or 5 minutes on their industry. Then they think you're a god. Wow, he took the time. He did research on us, because I know the rest of my stuff's funny. It's that customized stuff.
Yeah,
that's what makes it fun and fresh for me, I think.
Absolutely.
Whether it's plumbers or options traders or whoever it is. I don't care who it is.
Corporate stuff to me seems like the hottest. I mean, we have all been to corporate events at one time or another as like patrons, and and every person running the event is trying to somehow entertain all their employees and guests and vendors in the show and stuff. And it's like so I'll tell you as an example, when I ran for public office in my town a couple of years ago. And I thought it would be a great idea to bring comics in. So I had the connection with the comics. So we did it at the Comfort Inn. We had a function room. We had a nice setup. I mean, everything was nice. The way everything was laid out was nice. I didn't take into consideration the material. I'm always like, do whatever you want for material.
No, that's the problem.
Yeah, there was
a
very mixed crowd of people there from all ages. There was a child in there at one point. And there was a comic that went up that I didn't really know very well, but I knew the guy who brought him pretty good. And so I trusted him into, I'm like, I gave him the heads up. I'm like, this is a political fundraiser. Adam, you were there. You remember this? It's like, this is.
Oh, yeah. Is that the one where Eric went off the rails and started playing air guitar with your sign?
Yeah, it was a fundraiser that went dark real quick. Luckily, by the time it got too bad, all the people that, who were there who weren't family or friends had already left. But it was after that, it was like, maybe comedy at a, at a fundraiser such as something as sensitive as a political campaign, which you really, you get a tiptoe around the issues, probably not the best idea. But maybe at an Exxon convention, a comedian would be nice. You could talk about gas.
Well, let me say so. When I say corporate gig, I'm sorry. I was going to say, when I say corporate gig, I just say that as a general. It's not like I'm in front of 3,000 people at Exxon or
no, but
AT&T.
like even
these are like company gigs that have like holiday parties or a sales meeting.
Yeah.
I'm not the $50,000 guy.
No, but I mean,
those big things. But generally, corporate gigs or these gigs I do are fairly decent.
Yeah,
because the people want to hear something different. People are just out of their minds, whacked out, so they need a little laughter. I think. I try to be a trickle up comic. I laugh, or I do a joke, they laugh, they have a good time. I mean, that's all I can do. If they get it, great. If not, I'm sorry.
Does it help to go on towards the end when more people are liquored up because they're more likely to laugh?
They always say that, hey, the more you drink, the funnier they get. Not always the case. I did a Jokers in Oklahoma City years ago. They used to have 3 shows Friday, 3 shows Saturday. Now, you guys have done multiple shows in that, but, 7, 10, and midnight. The midnight shows always sucked. Why not have two good shows at 7:30 and 9:30 or whatever? So generally, the more they drink, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Just because, with my stuff, it's premise set a punch. You get it or you don't.
You gotta get it, yeah.
And I've had those shows where they drink all night. There's nothing you can do.
No.
Yeah.
We had a comedian come for our Christmas party at the restaurant that I bartended a couple nights a week a few years ago, and we got a guy who was up and coming, pretty good. Kyle Plouffe in the Boston area at the time. This was like 5-6 years ago. And then we brought this kid, Chris Timoney, who used to do the radio show with us all the time when we used to have a studio in downtown Boston and was on streaming online and everything. And this guy would pop in, a couple times, 3-4 times a year. So we brought him on. And everyone was drinking. It was an open bar. Everyone was hamming by the time the comics came on. The guy Chris ended up sleeping with one of the employees. It was at the bathroom of the comedy place. It wasn't even a comedy place. It was like a VFW. Slept with one of the servers in the bathroom. I guess she wasn't really sleeping. I guess she just banged her at that point. But yeah, so anything's possible. So, so when you got into comedy, were you married or in a relationship at the time, or were you like
okay. I was living in Milwaukee, and let's see, I hit the road in '89. I met my wife in '95. I was full time till '03. So, by the time '03 hits, I had a couple kids, and you want to watch your kids grow up. But until then, it was on the road, and she would travel with me.
Oh, cool.
So from '89 to '03, it was a blast. And then the road after a while, it gets taxing, and you want to do the show and go home right away. So, I wasn't in a relationship the first, many years. My first 10 years, I worked 48 weeks a year on the road, but that comedy is not around anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah.
One-nighters and clubs and all that stuff. So
it's awesome. It sounds pretty cool. I mean, did you stay in any of the comedy condos that I heard horror stories about?
Condos. First thing I learned in the comedy condo in a hotel, for those, check under the beds for pornos and the Bible for money, and underneath the bottom dresser drawer, there's a 5-inch gap, and there's more pornos and reefer there and all that stuff. So after 10 years, I had a big old bag like this.
Damn.
My buddy Greg, who I know from high school, before I got married, I had to relinquish the bag, so I gave him a big bag of pornos and hustlers and all that stuff. And
that's before online.
Obviously, there isn't that stuff anymore because it's all online. And,
yeah.
I always felt weird about touching somebody else's porn. It's like what they did right before that went somewhere else. Like I don't want to touch it. Like I just don't.
Right. Well, I just put it in the bag. But yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And the crappier the hotel, the closer the hotels are to airports, the more chances you'll find that kind of stuff.
Oh God.
I know, but the comedy condos are gross. And, But you know what? You meet these guys you work with, and most of the times you get along with them. And those are the dudes on the road that, years and years and years later.
Oh, yeah.
So for me, the road was great, learning how to be a comic, but also meeting people that I still keep in touch with. Because the funniest guys in the country are people no one's really ever heard of.
Oh, yeah.
And the road was great. But after a while, you guys travel,
it wears on you.
What's that?
It wears on you after a while,
Yeah, right. I did a gig in Florida. I'd never been to Florida. Pete, it's Pensacola. It's Florida. The money was crap, but it's Florida. So I'm like, all right, I'll go to Florida. And you kind of get sucked in. But
what were the ladies like back in like the late 80s, early 90s for comics? Like, because I know like when the Dane Cook era came around, like in the mid 2000s, early 2000s, it was like a thing where like all these girls, like they were looking at him like a Hollywood celebrity essentially,
right.
But you didn't really get that sensation with like the Seinfelds of the 90s and stuff like that. It was kind of like it was more of an adult crowd that enjoyed it. The girls weren't kind of throwing themselves. I was just curious,
right.
What was it like that, or was it you had some groupies that would
you meet people once in a while on the road, but I worked with a lot of like headliners and I knew they had girlfriends, I knew they were married, and waitresses and chicks from the show afterwards. And they'd all go home with them. I'm like, man, it's just not me. I mean, you're lucky enough to be with someone you want to be with. And then, just for me, I didn't do that. But yeah, there were girls that would throw themselves at all these guys.
Oh, sure.
It was crazy. I was doing a show at the Columbus Funny Bone. You want to hear a great story? So it was not the Backstreet Boys. New Kids on the Block were huge.
Oh, God.
And in front of the club, a limousine came, and these 4 high schoolers from somewhere in Ohio, they got all dressed up, got haircuts, and relatively looked like the New Kids on the Block. And then someone let the waitresses know before they say, New Kids on the Block are in the limo in the parking lot, and they'd all come out. They'd go in the limo for 5-10 minutes and come out. I mean, these guys got laid for hours as the New Kids on the Block. It was one of the coolest
things I've ever
seen. It was a great idea.
Great idea. Adam, how come we never done something like this?
That's just a lot of work, man. That's a lot of work.
Yeah,
I remember reading about this. There was this guy in Ireland, I was just reading about this recently, who was dressing up as a leprechaun to have sex with tourists.
Oh my God.
Like all the American girls would be like, "Oh, a leprechaun." He would get them drunk and then like bring them back. And like he had like outfits and like and then like all these women now reporting being raped. Like he has like 20 girls that he actually slept with like, over the course of X amount of time, right? And now I'm wondering how many people he struck out with. Because think of the effort and work you'd have to put into that. He had different outfits. He had a whole like game plan, like of things he would do and things he would say. It sounds like a lot of work.
It's a numbers game, right?
It
so
is.
I'm sure he did very well overall.
Jesus.
True.
So as a Milwaukee guy, you a baseball fan at all? Brewers?
I'm a Cubs fan. I grew up in Chicago, and I lived in Milwaukee because the radio station was there.
Oh, okay.
And my wife's from Wisconsin, so twice a year we have a Bears-Packers situation.
Okay.
And the Brewers. I mean, I root for the Brewers. Well, they're in the Cubs division now, but my old roommate used to be the sports writer for the Brewers for the Milwaukee Journal. So, Milwaukee's a good sports town. They have international hockey. The Admirals, the Bucks are doing great, and obviously the Packers. We'll see what happens with Rodgers this year.
Yep.
Rodgers up against Brady. I think Brady got the best of Rodgers over the years. Would you say?
I think, yeah. I can't. I don't even know if Rodgers has even beaten Brady at all.
Probably not. I don't think they played a ton of times, but
I think the one time he had a chance to beat him, and let's see, click out of this real quick. We're down to the countdown. There we go. The one time the Brady, I think Rodgers was on fire. He got injured that season. He ended up having to play in Brady, and I think they only played each other maybe 3 times the most. I think, if that. But I think Brady's got the best of him every single time. But Brady's in the same division with Breeze now, and then you have who's that? You have Matt Ryan's in that division now too. So, I mean, your Packers.
It's gonna be interesting to see if they ever get football going.
The Bears. So the Bears is your team. They I went to a Bears game last year in Chicago versus the Saints.
What'd you think? What'd you think of the stadium? It's like a spaceship.
Oh, I was kind of insulted.
Me too.
I'm an architect major. And I love the idea of Soldiers Field being restored and kind of keeping the historical aspect of it. And then me and my wife were walking because my wife's a Saints fan, so we went out for the Saints and Bears, and we're walking into the stadium. I go, this is a historical, stadium. This is a very monumental part of the NFL, and it looks like a goddamn UFO fucking landed on the stadium.
They landed
and blew into the thing
in the goddamn stadium.
I just was looking around and I go, I just can't comprehend. And I understand that Chicago's very, architectural influenced city, and they were a pioneer on the skyscraper and all things like that. But there's a sense of historic and there's a sense of modern, and there's a way to do it right. I don't think they did it right at Soldier Field.
I don't think they did it right. I think it used to hold 108,000. So when you're going into Soldier Field, where the spaceship part is, you can see where the old seats are where no one can sit.
Okay.
There's another like 20,000 seats in that end.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. It just looks horrible.
I mean, the environment, people in Chicago.
The Bears weren't too great last year either.
No, they were a little rough last year, and but the fans were great. There wasn't one asshole that I ran into there. The people of Chicago just cool, laid back people. We went to a comedy show out there. We were staying out near the mall. There's a mall out there.
Oh, did you go to Woodfield, the Improv at Woodfield, probably?
It wasn't the Improv. It was there's a big mall outside of the airport. And then
Schaumburg. You're in Schaumburg, I'll bet.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember. It
was Zany's in St. Charles.
Zany. No. It might have been Zany's. That sounds familiar. I think it was Zany's actually. That sounds familiar.
Okay.
We went to we did the tourist thing during the day. Then me and my wife went to a comedy show Saturday night. Had a great time. Had a few drinks. Enjoyed ourselves. It was It was not a bad time in Chicago.
It's a fun town. Let me ask you, did you have pizza at all?
So the first time I was in Chicago 3 times. The first time I went to Chicago, I went to a White Sox game, and then we went back and had some pizza downtown. It was good. I actually really like deep crust.
You like the deep dish?
I do. I think the deep dish pizza is my thing. I like the Uno's type stuff and everything, but
yeah, right.
Good stuff.
It's fucking the food's good in Chicago too.
Your Domino's, yeah.
But so at baseball, Adam, you brought up a great point, and we'll probably go into a little bit in the next segment. But you were talking about how you think that these prima donna baseball players, and they're holding out on playing. I don't know. I thought some news came in today. They're out playing. I didn't hear the whole thing.
Is that what it is now? It keeps flip flopping every day.
Yeah,
last I heard they're not. But it looks worse now.
60
it
games.
Looks even worse now that basketball has said basketball is coming back, but they said, hey, if you don't want to play, you're not going to be penalized, right?
Yeah.
Why didn't baseball just do that? And they didn't. But if they're not going to play, my thing is I can't wait to see. In order to make up for lost revenue, and even when they come back, attendance is going to be so low.
Oh, yeah.
So, I'm curious to see what some of these owners are going to try to do to get people to pay money, to pay the bills. They're going to have carnivals there. They're going to have dog shows in the stadium. They're going to have the weirdest, dumbest shit, more concerts in every stadium all across the U.S.
I was reading something that was saying that if they actually don't play the entire season, that some franchises and stuff, they might actually have to eventually move or sell.
Oh yeah, yeah. Some of them can't take that hit. That's for sure.
Some owners don't even want to play because it's a loss for them. It's a financial loss, I guess, because you don't.
I think some minor league team should have a general guy from the audience pitch the fifth. I think that would be neat. Just bring someone out of the stands to pitch the fifth inning. See how that goes.
I love minor league.
That'd be awesome.
I love minor league baseball. I did a thing back about 10 years ago where I went to go see every Major League Baseball park around the country, and I got that done. And me and my wife are just now bouncing every year. We go see some minor league games. We see 5 new minor league teams a year. This year, obviously nothing because obviously there's no baseball. But last year we traveled quite a bit. I actually got my Connecticut Tigers, which is it's a 1A affiliate for the of the Detroit Tigers in Norwich, Connecticut. So I love the stadiums because of the gimmicks they have. Everything's cheap there, and it's very entertaining. It's very family friendly. It's what baseball. It's what I remember the Red Sox were when they sucked back in when I was growing up, and they would have these gimmicks and giveaways when you went to the park and everything, and free stuff and incentives to go to the park. And I think every team has done that at one point or another just to get people in there. But then what was it?
Wasn't this supposed to be the Paw Sox last season?
Yeah, and I guess so. The Pawtucket Red Sox, who've been down, the Pawtucket city of Pawtucket in Rhode Island, has had baseball there since I believe 1923, and they're the AAA affiliate of the Red Sox. But over the years, they've been other affiliates of different teams and whatnot. In the same stadium, it's a nice. I wouldn't say a nice stadium. It's a cool oriented stadium in the middle of a neighborhood, like a lot of minor league parks are.
Yep. It's a dump, though.
It's a dump.
It's a dump.
Yeah. The town didn't want to put up a new stadium, and they were going to move them to Providence, and Providence didn't want a stadium downtown, so Worcester stole them and moving now the Worcester Red Sox to Worcester next season. This was supposed to be the last season down in Pawtucket.
No one wants to be in Worcester, so.
No. And Pawtucket wasn't any better. I mean, the only perk of playing baseball in Rhode Island is that technically prostitution's legal in the strip clubs. I mean, that's the only, as long as you're indoors, no one's going to bother you. So, I mean, that was the only, to be a young kid, 23 years old, and having Providence a stone's throw away, I mean, it's very hard not to spend your entire...
That's right.
Yeah.
They're going to be called the freaking Woo Sox, aren't they?
Yeah.
The Woo Sox.
And you know what, Peter, do you know anything about Worcester, Massachusetts?
No, I've heard Worcester.
Yeah.
It's a suburb of Boston, right? It's 10 miles out?
It's about 40 miles out. It's about an hour.
Oh.
It's in the center. It's the middle of the state.
Right.
It's a shit.
The only good thing to ever come out of Worcester was Joyner Lucas. That's
Worcester is the epitome of a shithole. It is Massachusetts has several shitholes. Worcester is the central. We call it the central shithole. It's the middle of the state. It's where all the shit from the rest of New England kind of orients and goes in. And they're doing a revamping of it, a renaissance, if you will, of the town. And I don't think they're gonna get anywhere.
They have a really good art museum, though. I went to go see the Da Vinci. They had this painting, the Da Vinci did and stuff and everything. Arguably, he may not have did it, and stuff and everything. But I went to go see that.
Me and my old former co-host Eric Danger Powers spent a wild night in Worcester. It was a Tuesday in the summer of 2008. I remember this because it was the Olympics was on and they were in China. And we were watching Michael Phelps swim. So that's the only reason I know it was 2008. And we had a few cocktails, a few adult beverages at a bar on the wrong side of the tracks because there's literally in Worcester there's tracks that run through the middle of the city. And there's literally a good side of the tracks and a bad side of the tracks.
Oh, boy.
And we ended up sleeping in the basement of an Irish girl's house, parents' house for that matter. But it was wild and crazy. All right.
Yeah, those small baseball towns like Bull Durham, it's a town and it revolves around the team. And it sounds like Worcester is trying to get back. If you can buy an ice cream shop and just slowly start getting revenue in cool places, it'll turn into a neat city like a lot of cities are trying to.
So actually the architects who did the Durham Park is actually designing the Worcester Park. The owners went down there to actually pretty much steal their idea of the apartments and the retail and the hotel and all that stuff and the kind of the venue.
Right.
But all right, so we're about to hit the break. You guys are watching on Facebook. We'll be back in about a minute or two, guys. I will send you the link for the second part of the show.
All right.
So we'll see you then. You guys watching, we'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors. And we are back. We're back in business here on the Arty 84 show for the last half of the show. Wrapping up baseball. Adam, would you like to add any more points about how you think this game is going to change when this is all said and done? Because it's going to change. It's
definitely a huge blow. Attendance is going to take a hit, and you're not going to have a McGuire and a Sosa to bring it back either.
Unless they bring steroids. Bring the steroids back.
There you go.
Let them do what they want to do. And as a Cubs fan, you must have hated seeing McGuire hit all those balls. But you had the Sosa,
Oh, my gosh. Sosa, listen, I don't care what they were doing. It was like Jordan, in 92, 93, 94. It's one of those things I don't know if we'll see again ever. But Sosa McGuire, I don't know if you watched the thing on ESPN. I saw part of it. It was unbelievable. Sosa would hit 2, McGuire would hit 3. Then Sosa wouldn't hit anyone. McGuire would hit, and it was just back and forth, and they were huge. You saw the guns on those guys, and McGuire without steroids.
Looked like Popeye. It's like
it was an exciting time for baseball, man. Barry Bonds, all those guys.
What's the reason that Sosa has no affiliation anymore with the Cubs? Did something happen?
Well, what had happened
he got weird.
He
turned white.
Yeah, he got white. What happened? It was weird.
But then the last game of the season, it was so bad with the Cubs, he just didn't show up for the game and left after the locker room and just said, see ya.
Yeah.
So Ricketts, who owns the Cubs, I think he gave Bartman a ring when they won the World Series.
Oh, jeez.
Solve that whole
handing
thing.
them off like candy.
He gave out 1,908 of them, which was the last time they won the World Series.
Wow.
That's pretty expensive. But for Sosa, I think Ricketts should bring him back as an ambassador.
Yeah.
It would be great.
He's like the David Ortiz of the Red Sox. He's a guy that, the Cubs weren't a great team back in, they had a struggle. And there's a reason they had to win a World Series in 180 years. And then they get close in 2003, and that old debacle goes down, and the average baseball player remembered the Cubs at all during the early 2000s was because of Sammy Sosa. The average baseball player would just know the names. They knew McGuire, they knew Sosa, they know Bonds. Yep. It's just a shame that he had such an impact on that team, and he pretty much put the team back into public eye.
On.
Yeah.
But 1984, Cubs were up 2-0 against the Padres. And then in the 5th game, someone told Lee Smith to throw a fastball down the middle of Steve Garvey. Are you kidding me? So we didn't get into the World Series there. 89 against the Giants. Will Clark, Mark Grace duo.
Will Clark. Oh, man.
Remember him? They beat the Cubs in 5. And then in 03, I forget what happened. And then the Dodgers a couple. Yeah. But 84 is when the Cubs should have. And then in 03, the Bartman game. And just very briefly. And this still bugs the crap out of me. There were 10 guys going for that baseball.
Yeah.
That Bartman hit. There were 10 guys going for it.
Yeah, yeah.
And they killed this guy. And then game 6 and 7, you know, it was a Hernandez at short, blew it. And then you had not Kerry Wood, the other guy, Mark Pryor. Gave up everything. So it wasn't Bartman. It's an easy thing to blame him. He has a ring now. So
well,
they blew up the Bartman ball, by the way.
I heard someone paid $1 million to blow that thing up, but it's
my gosh!
So the Red Sox and the Cubs are always, I always thought the teams is the same parallel. They're always kind of like the National League and the American League. And in 2003, you had that issue, and then the Red Sox with keeping Pedro in too long.
My gosh!
And it should have been a Cubs Red Sox World Series.
Cubs Red Sox.
It would have been.
Would have been the most expensive tickets on the planet from here for the next 100 years.
Yep. Right. It would have been probably the most iconic. One of the most iconic, because the last time they played each other was 2000. I think they played 2018 World Series. The Red Sox beat the Cubs, or something like that.
No. The Cubs never played the Red Sox.
They never. Okay.
In a playoff game, no, I don't think so.
Maybe I think it's
even not recently.
No, but it would have been like two iconic teams facing head to head. Both cities so invested into their ball club, and such a history of failure, of getting so close, and then someone had to win. No one's going to tie that World Series.
When Boston won their first one, I think was it 2003. I watched.
2004,
I think it was The Curse of the Bambino. It was a documentary. Dennis Leary did it. There are about 4 or 5 guys that are hardcore Boston dudes, and people were pouring drinks on their grandparents' grave.
Oh yeah,
they were climbing into cemeteries. Same thing happened when the Cubs won. It's been 100 and whatever years.
Oh, I believe it.
So they are together. Those two teams. I think they're linked always.
Yeah, I mean, down to the stadiums, down to the way they preserve and where they play. I mean, it's in the way they involved in retrofitted the stadiums in a very good way. That's an example of Chicago modernizing their historic stadium in a positive way, taking the ability of using the buildings behind it, modernizing the facilities, keeping the same vibes that same what Fenway does. Not like the spaceship on Soldiers Field, like that.
Right. My son and I went to Fenway in 2013. I'm sorry to say that's after the Blackhawks beat the Bruins. They scored 2 goals in 18 seconds. Sorry, fellas. But we went to the TD thing. We wanted to get a Hawk thing, and the only thing they had was a Hawk Bruins 2013 Stanley Cup. But we went to Fenway, and it got rained out. But the usher guy in center field, we had our Cub hats on. And we're just looking around in awe like you would look at Wrigley.
Yeah.
And the usher just nodded and goes, "Yeah, I know, fellas." Because he knew. Fenway and Wrigley. It was such a great park. I wish we could have watched the game.
Yeah. The only time I've been to Wrigley was Father's Day weekend, 2012. I went out there for a Sox Cubs game. And
that was good.
It was awesome. Then. And they televised the Red Sox broadcast in black and white for the entire game with no... Well, they did it like the old time days and stuff.
Right.
And there was so many Red Sox fans out in Chicago for that weekend. And, I just had a blast. Other than me getting hammered, I was by myself. I got hammered and went down the wrong street and ended up in Boys Town. And didn't realize it for a good hour and a half. I was like, where are all the girls at? This was kind of weird. But other than that,
great restaurants in Boys Town, by the way. Yeah, it's fun.
It was a cool vibe.
One street.
Yeah, it was very, not a lot of people wearing Cubs hats and not a lot of girls. So I was just very, very confused by the situation.
You needed to be in Wrigleyville or Andersonville or Lincoln Park or whatever, but yeah.
Yeah, I think somewhere in Addisonville, I was woken up from falling asleep on a bar stool at 3 o'clock in the morning when they were closing the bar down. So it was all right. But
yeah, they close down at 3. They open up again at 6. Some of them, anyways.
That's awesome. It's the way to do it.
2 great cities.
All right, my friend Adam, you have a event for us tonight to play.
We got some points to ponder, Arty. We haven't done this in a while.
Points to ponder.
Points to ponder. This is basically a game of Would You Rather. So I'm going to go down the list, starting with Peter, Ryan, and Arty. And I'm basically going to give you a scenario. Would you rather? And you just answer the question. Simple as that. Some of them are kind of dirty. Some of them are kind of normal. Yeah. We'll go down the list here. Okay, so, all right. So, would you rather be the funniest person in the room or the smartest? Peter.
Funniest.
Smartest.
I say funniest, too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather be the smartest. The smart equals more money. So
smart on the left side of the screen tonight, yeah.
That's right.
All right. In this scenario, let me just start off by saying you're going to live.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So in both of these cases, you live. But would you rather have a horrible case of COVID for 1 week? I mean, we're talking like worst case it could possibly be. We're talking hospital, ventilator.
Ew.
But like I said, you're going to live and you'll recover. Or take a hard punch to the face from Mike Tyson in his prime.
Ooh. Boy. I think I got to go COVID.
I'm gonna take the punch to Mike Tyson from the face.
I'm gonna agree with Ryan with the punch because it's a story you always have. It's like you just.
You know what?
You know?
You're correct. That's right.
It's
I
true.
won't change it, but now that I've heard you two, that's probably the answer.
Tell
I think I'm with Ryan on this and going COVID only because with Tyson, like I could lose a tooth. Like that could cost money. I don't want to lose a front tooth. You know what I mean? And at least the government will pay my medical bills to get COVID.
But it's
Did you see Tyson's thing a couple weeks ago? He's gonna make a comeback. He looks unbelievable.
I can't
Oh
wait.
God!
I can't wait. That's when boxing was at its prime. The Tyson, Holyfield. Oh, I used to love it.
Would you rather run 100 miles an hour or fly 10 miles an hour?
I'm going to say fly. I rather.
Guess it depends on where you're going, but you know.
You know what? Well, you go. You guys go.
I'd love to fly. Fly all day. 10 miles per hour. I don't care. It's better than not flying at all.
Yeah, I'd fly.
Yeah, I agree. I think
I want to
flying
say
is cool.
fly, but I would just get fat. Like, because I'm flying everywhere I go. I'm not walking.
When you
ever.
fly,
Like, I feel like...
just act like you're running. Just kind of like walk in place, like Walking Man. I'd wear. I would even buy a cape. I think if people could fly, cape sales would go up like 10% because people just want to put the cape on to make it look like they're Superman.
That's
I
right.
wonder for people who are creepy, they'd be normal. It would normalize the cape. You're right, Arty.
Yeah. Seeing a cape now, weirdo. Seeing a cape when people can fly, pretty cool.
Would you rather shit yourself every time you told a lie, no matter how big or small the lie is, or have horrible breath the rest of your life that can't be hidden? Mints and gum don't work.
I would rather shit myself in a lie
I'd rather shit myself
because you could make yourself not lie. You could just not lie.
That's right.
Yeah,
You know?
right? It would train you to be an honest person.
Yeah.
Except if you're in bed with a girl and she's saying, "How am I?" and you're like, "This is the greatest I ever had," and then you could have an issue right there.
Oh shit! Yeah, people are going to exploit that. That's right. Oh.
Yeah. So like, how am I right now? Is this the best sex you ever had? And you look at it and you feel like,
oh man.
But if you're the smartest guy in the room, you should be able to handle them trying to manipulate.
That's true. Feel convince her. This is the sex you're looking for.
For an hour, would you rather do stretching exercises with your mother, facing each other in the nude together, no blindfold, can't close your eyes, or be confined in a room with everyone you've ever slept with?
Confined in a room with everyone I ever slept with.
Yeah, I take the latter because there's a chance.
I agree.
There's a chance you might get laid.
Right. Look at that. Yeah, I never thought of that. There you go. Okay, would you rather have your body found on a pile of sex toys or a pile of drugs?
I say sex
Pile
toys.
of drugs.
I say sex toys because people know my lifestyle anyways. You know, if it was drugs, people would be shocked. Like, oh my god, really? Jeez.
Probably drugs.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I would go sex toys only because I'd rather be considered a deviant than an addict. So either way, whatever. Okay, what's more disturbing, discovering a sex tape with your significant other and your best friend, or your significant other and her own cousin?
Okay, is the cousin a boy or a girl?
Should it matter?
Yes.
They're still cheating on you.
It doesn't matter though. There's a
Okay, we'll say it's a boy.
Jesus.
Best friend.
I say cousin because you don't gotta see you gotta look at your best friend all the time. You just think it'd be weird.
Yeah, they're related.
I'd rather the relationship because you know what? You know who hasn't?
Yeah, I discovered like my best friend, like his niece on Pornhub, like accidentally, man.
Oh,
very, very awkward conversation.
Oh god! Did you interview for one of your YouTube videos?
No.
You accidentally saw her on Pornhub.
I hope we get the video off Pornhub though. It was horrible.
Every once in a while, you wander through Pornhub, and all of a sudden, boop! How did I get here? I was searching.
That's right.
I was searching seeds to grow at Home Depot. How did I end up at the site?
What does this link do?
What's this going?
All right, what's more awkward, farting loudly in the bedroom during sex or burping while kissing?
I say burping.
Yeah, burping.
I'd say farting.
See, I would just blame it on the dog if I farted during sex. I'd be like, "Oh my god, little Tommy Brady, what are you doing?"
I would say more awkward would be farting during sex. With belching would just be more gross while kissing.
Yeah, I'd say more. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean,
I think both would ruin the mood.
Yeah, it would definitely put a dimmer on the. Yeah, it would definitely. Yeah, it would not be
ass
sex.
in the air.
Especially if you're 69 and you had an ass in your face. Like,
no, man.
You need one of those shields they wear for COVID, at the hospitals, those plastic shields.
And lastly, would you rather wear wet socks or wet underwear for a full day?
Wet socks. I have wet socks all the time.
Oh, I hate wet socks. I fucking hate wet socks.
I agree with the wet socks though, because wet underwear is so just think how sweaty you get. If you're sweaty with underwear, it's just very uncomfortable. The swashiness of the balls is just very unbecoming of anyone.
Cradling of the balls is not pleasant.
Yes, you need to hear those. Yeah, hear those puppies out. I can only imagine what a comedy condo was like with a bunch of men and the sweat and the heat and the
sweat and the heat and the drinking and the food and the chick once in a while. Yeah, and they didn't clean the rooms too well on the Monday before you got there.
I'm sure. So. I'm sure they weren't exactly Ritz-Carlton hotels.
That's right.
Yeah, that's our points to ponder for the week, guys.
Points to ponder. Woo! All right. Well, cool. And that kind of brings us close to the end of the show as well. We'll start with you, Peter. Anything you want to plug? You get any shows coming up or any corporate events, that you want to...
Boy, I'm working on about 2 or 3, and they're in the same boat. They can't get people going. I hope to go. I did do this 55 and older community. It was their 20th anniversary. I did 6 30-minute shows in 4 hours. 3, dinner, then another 3. And it was actually kind of interesting. So that might be the way to go if they have these big community rooms.
Yeah.
But other than that, I have nothing lined up. I'm trying.
I see on your Facebook you said you're doing like a joke a day.
Yeah, I've done it for 67 straight days. So I start off going, this episode of Pete's Classic is sponsored by, and I do something like, who didn't flush a toilet? Then I do a little thing.
Yep.
And then sitting in for Johnny today, I have Rodney Allen Rippey from commercial fame, and then Elizabeth, whoever it is. And then I do a one-liner, then I do a regular street joke.
Okay.
And the street jokes are great. I mean, the good ones are really good. They're hard to find real good street jokes, though.
And how would you find these if you were out there watching and you wanted to get entertained for free?
No, just go to my Facebook, Peter Lipsey, and my website's peterlipsey.com. And, there's 2.5 months worth of it.
Nice. There you go. It's enough to keep you entertained. Because sometimes with all the negativity on Facebook these days, sometimes people just need a little pick me up. Looking at a baby, of like a picture of a baby, or like a sunset, or a joke. And that can cheer you up a little bit.
You guys see what comments are like when people go nuts, and that's why I don't do political stuff in my act. Why alienate half the crowd?
It's true.
You're right.
And people want to get away from that stuff for an hour and 20 minutes.
Politics and the Catholic Church, 2 things I don't like to talk about because it touches me home.
That's right.
Ryan, what are you plugging this week?
Definitely go on the Packy and check out my recent article about Casey Chrysler hijacking Mr. Cheeks of the Lost Boys and Lost Boys Instagram page. And a very interesting story about how this scam artist is basically taking over Mr. Cheeks, the Lost Boys Instagram page, and he's passing it off as he's actually like Mr. Cheeks, and has photos of his granddaughter. It's like he's actually like a sociopath. So I'm trying to start a movement for people and stuff to spread awareness to that, to bring attention to that. And it's called hashtag make them go live. So
I actually want someone to hijack my Instagram page. So if there's anyone out there who wants to, I could use some excitement because it's kind of bland. It's pictures of my Lego set and pictures of my kids and my kid and my wife. It's a big extent of what on my Instagrams these days. Nothing too excited. Adam, what are you plugging, my man?
I'll just go to thepacky.com, check out my movie-related videos, and I'm on YouTube with The Whirlwind Potato.
The Whirlwind Potato. Of course, you can get me subscribe to the Arty 84 Show on YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, and you can hear us on Spotify and everywhere podcasts are heard. And also, you can check out me and my wife and my son's page, The Wicked Explorers, on YouTube while we explore shit. We haven't been doing much exploring since we've been locked down, but hopefully.
I saw you at the North End, though. You were having a good time.
Man, we did enjoy ourselves. We did get out of the house a little bit, but my new addiction is now I have a Lego city in my basement that I've been developing, and it's been pretty intense. So, you know, my adolescence is kicking. This is what I'm losing my mind. I'm running out of things to do, but I'm sure you all feel the pain.
Yep.
Peter, thank you very much for joining us tonight. And great for you. It's an hour early out there in Chicago, so
yeah, listen,
still enjoy some sunlight.
It was a pleasure talking with you. This is a lot of fun. This is like one of the nuggets, like as a comic, just doing shit like this.
Yeah,
just shooting the breeze. I wish there was more stuff like this.
Well, man,
that people did.
Stay in touch. We'll have you on again.
Yeah, down the road, I would love it. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Ryan, Adam, thank you guys. And for everyone out there on Facebook, thanks for watching live tonight. And those listening to on iTunes and all the podcast applications, thank you. Subscribe, comment, like, and we'll see you guys next week. See you guys later. Thank you, guys.
All right, take care. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.